Motor racing and drugs. On paper it seems like a combination that's as explosive as Coke and Mentos. And in reality, well, that's a pretty accurate metaphor. So why do drugs and motorsport so often end up hand in hand? Well, there's a pretty simple answer. Money. It's no secret that motorsport is incredibly expensive, and naturally there's always a few people who try their luck with unorthodox funding methods. Allow me to introduce Vic Lee Motorsport. Vic Lee Motorsport were a team who competed in the British Touring Car Championship, or BTCC for short. For those of you who don't know, the BTCC reached its peak popularity during the 90s as it thrilled motorsport fans across the globe with its brilliant racing. Throw in high-powered versions of road-going saloon cars, some of the world's best drivers and Murray Walker in the commentary box, and you've got one hell of a racing series. At the beginning of the decade, Vic Lee Motorsport found considerable success when they won both the Drivers' Championship in 1991 with the late Will Hoy, and in 1992 with Tim Harvey, who would later go on to become a cult hero commentator for the series. As I mentioned earlier, running a race team isn't cheap, so you might be surprised to learn that this British team that raced in a British series on British racetracks decided to do most of its testing at the Zandvoort circuit over in Holland. Seems a bit fishy, right? Well, the British police certainly thought so. After months of tracking the team's movements, they decided to do a stop check on the team's transporter, and yep, you guessed it, they found drugs. As it turned out, the team's owner Vic Lee had been sneaking off to buy drugs while the team were at Zandvoort. He'd then hide the drugs in the team's race car transporter, and once they returned to the UK, he'd sell the haul for a profit. And I'm not just talking about a cheeky bag of weed or two brought from an Amsterdam coffee shop. Oh no. The haul that the police found was an estimated £6 million worth of cocaine. Vic was sentenced to 12 years in prison and the race team was liquidated, with the assets being sold to Ray Belm and Steve Neal, who formed the Team Dynamics team. But amazingly, this story doesn't end there. Vic was released from jail in 1998 and began working for Team Dynamics before once again forming his own team. This time it was named Vic Lee Racing. This continued with limited success up until the mid-2000s before, incredibly, once again Vic was busted for drug trafficking. This time he was found with £1.7 million worth in the boots of his car and was sentenced to another 12 years in prison. Yet again he only served 5 years of this sentence, and after his release in 2010 he went on to become the managing director of motorsport seats and parts manufacturer Corbu. He hasn't re-offended since then, and in his words, he's a glittering example of the prison system working properly. So there you have it, the crazy story of the drug smuggling race car team. Some real shady stuff, but luckily nothing dodgy happens in motorsport these days, right? Oh, wait a minute. I better start making more videos.